If your yes has become automatic, has probably gone missing. That is where boundaries begins. Not with a dramatic villain, not with one obvious crisis. It begins with an ordinary life that looks responsible from the outside and quietly exhausting from the inside. A person can be praised for being helpful, spiritual, agreeable, available, and easy to work with, while slowly losing the ability to tell where her own life ends and everyone else's life begins. Welcome to this summary of boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. In this first episode, we're going to build the foundation of the book. What a boundary is, why the authors think boundary problems create so much hidden pain, and why saying no is not the opposite of love. The book opens with Sherry, a working mother whose day is almost comically crowded. She wakes up tired. Her children need her. Her husband complains. Her mother pressures her through guilt. Work expects her to absorb extra responsibility. Friends and church obligations pull at her. By the end of the day, she has said yes in every direction, but the yes have not created love, peace, or freedom. They have created resentment. That opening is important because the authors do not treat boundaries as a cold personality trick. They treat them as a way to tell the truth about responsibility. Sherry is not selfish because she is tired. She is tired because she has been living as if every need, every emotion, every crisis, and every expectation around her belongs to her. The central image is simple. A boundary is a property line. A physical fence tells you where 1 yard ends and another begins. It does not say that neighbors should hate each other. It says each owner is responsible for what happens on his or her own property. Boundaries work the same way in the human soul. They mark what is mine to own, mine to protect, mine to develop, and mine to offer freely. Cloud and Townsend keep returning to one question. What are you responsible for, and what are you not responsible for? They argue that we are responsible for our feelings, attitudes, behaviors, choices, limits, talents, thoughts, desires, values, and love. Other people may influence these things, but they do not own them for us. And we cannot own those things for them. That distinction sounds obvious until real life starts talking. Your mother says she is lonely. Your friend says you're the only one who understands. Your boss says the deadline is impossible unless you work another night. Your child explodes because a consequence finally arrived. Your spouse sulks because you disagreed. Suddenly, the property line disappears, and you feel responsible not only to care, but to fix the emotional weather in every room. The book says love requires responsibility, but responsibility has borders. There is a difference between helping someone carry a burden and taking over a load that belongs to them. A burden may be a crisis too heavy for one person to carry alone. A load is the daily responsibility of a person's own life. Healthy love helps with burdens. Unhealthy rescuing steals the other person's load and then complains about the weight. This is why boundaries are not walls. A wall keeps everything out. A boundary has a gate. It lets good things in and bad things out. It allows love to move freely because love is no longer being confused with pressure, guilt, panic, or fear. The authors describe several boundary materials. The first is skin. Your body is a boundary. It shows that your physical self is yours, and it must be protected from harm. The second is words, especially the word no. No is one of the most basic boundary words because it tells the truth about limits. Another boundary is truth. Reality itself is a boundary. When someone denies the consequences of their behavior, truth pushes back. Geography can also be a boundary. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to remove yourself from a destructive setting. Time can be a boundary. Emotional distance can be a boundary. Other people can help form boundaries when you need support. Consequences are boundaries because they connect choices with reality. Notice how practical this is. The book is not saying become colder. It is saying, stop pretending that love can survive without truth. If a person repeatedly hurts you and nothing changes, the problem is not that you lack compassion. The problem may be that compassion has been separated from limits. The authors write from a Christian framework, so they connect boundaries with spiritual maturity. They argue that God himself respects boundaries. God gives people choices, allows consequences, speaks truth, and invites love rather than forcing it. In that view, boundaries are not rebellion against love. They are part of the structure that makes real love possible. That point matters because many people fear that boundaries are selfish. They imagine that a loving person should always be available, always agreeable, and always willing to absorb discomfort for someone else. Boundaries challenges that idea. If you say yes only because you are afraid, resentful, or guilty, the yes may look generous, but it is not free. The book also separates care from control. You can care about another person's pain. You can listen, encourage, help, forgive, and stay present. But you cannot make another adult become honest, responsible, grateful, sober, faithful, calm, or mature. When you try, you move from love into control, and control usually creates more chaos. So the first foundation is ownership. My feelings are mine. My choices are mine. My limits are mine. My yes is mine. My no is mine. And the same is true for you. This sounds simple, but it is the beginning of freedom because it tells us where work can actually happen. If Sherry's life is falling apart because she is trying to manage everyone else's disappointment, the solution is not to become uncaring. The solution is to recover the truth. She can love her mother without letting guilt run her evening. She can care about her child without rescuing him from every consequence. She can serve at work without becoming the emergency container for every poorly planned task. She can be kind without becoming available for unlimited use. The book's deeper claim is that boundaries protect love from resentment. When people cannot say no, their yes becomes polluted. They may still show up, but inside they are counting the cost, storing bitterness, and secretly hoping someone notices how much they are sacrificing. Boundaries bring the cost into the open. They make love honest. This does not make boundaries easy. The first no may feel like betrayal. The first limit may make other people angry. The first honest conversation may expose years of unspoken agreements. But Cloud and Townsend are clear. The pain of building boundaries is different from the pain of living without them. One pain leads toward maturity. The other repeats the same day over and over. By the end of this first movement, boundaries has given us a map. A human life is not an open field where everyone may wander in and take what they need. It is a garden with a gate. It needs protection. It needs cultivation. It needs truthful signs. And it needs the freedom to give from love, not from panic. Thank you for listening to this first episode. In the next part, we move from the definition of boundaries to the patterns that break them. The compliant person who cannot say no, the controller who cannot hear no, the avoidant who cannot receive help, and the laws that make boundaries work whether we like them or not. Final thought for this episode. A boundary is not a rejection of love. It is the place where love stops pretending and starts telling the truth. There is another reason the property line image matters. A property line does not tell you whether the owner is generous. It tells you who has the authority to decide. If I invite you into my yard, that can be hospitality. If you walk in and start digging because you decided my yard should serve your plan, that is not hospitality. Many boundary problems begin when people treat access as entitlement. This is why the book keeps returning to freedom. Love requires freedom because love has to be chosen. If a person is pressured, guilt, cornered, or threatened into giving, the act may still help someone, but it is not the same as free love. It is a transaction under emotional pressure. Boundaries give the person enough room to choose. The Sherry story works because no single request looks outrageous by itself. A child needs help. A mother wants attention. A boss wants more work. A friend needs support. A spouse has expectations. A church has a need. If any one of those appeared alone, it might be manageable. The disaster comes from a life with no working gate. Everything enters. Nothing is sorted. The person is praised for availability while quietly losing agency. Cloud and Townsend also make a useful distinction between feelings and actions. Feelings are real, but they do not get to become dictators. If someone feels disappointed by your no, their feeling matters, but it does not automatically mean your no is wrong. If you feel afraid when setting a boundary, that fear matters, but it does not automatically mean you must withdraw the boundary. Another important boundary material is consequences. Consequences are not revenge. They are reality made visible. If a person repeatedly borrows money and never repays it, a boundary may be, I will not lend more money. That consequence is not hatred. It is the end of pretending that the pattern is harmless. Without consequences, words often become decorative. The author's language about being responsible to others but not for others is one of the most practical tools in the book. Responsible to means I can love, tell truth, show mercy, offer help, and remain humanly present. Responsible for means I become the engine of your choices. The first is love. The second eventually becomes control, resentment, or burnout. This also explains why some very caring people become secretly angry. They are doing loving-looking things from a place of compulsion. They are giving time they have not freely chosen to give. They are carrying pain that does not belong to them. They are protecting others from reality and then wondering why no one grows. Boundaries do not remove care. They remove confusion. It helps to imagine a boundary as a sentence with both kindness and clarity. I care about you, and I cannot do that tonight. I want this relationship, and I will not continue this conversation while insults are happening. I am willing to help for 1 hour, and after that I need to leave. The end matters. It keeps love and limit in the same breath. The book does not pretend every boundary will be understood. Some people will misread limits because the old arrangement benefited them. Others will be hurt because they are not used to hearing no. Some will test whether the gate is real. This is why a boundary is not just a sentence. It is a sentence plus follow-through. For this first episode, the practical question is simple. Where have you confused love with having no property line? Not where have you been mildly inconvenienced. Not where do you wish no one ever needed you. The deeper question is where your yes has stopped being free, truthful, and loving. That is usually where the boundary work begins.